we write the music first, usually just demos, but we call them sketches, or and there'll be lots of them, like 60 or 70 of these things that we give to him, and sometimes those will become really developed. Like we'll even take them really far into being like fully recorded songs before he's ever written a lyric.
Just as instrumentals.
Yeah, like something like Squall Victoria was like that on Boxer, because we just really wanted to do that kind of strange song. Other things once you give him those sketches, he spends months kind of humming over them and just finding, it has to do with like what melodically and harmonically can he actually relate to and follow and sing over. And then the process of writing lyrics, he's got notebooks and notebooks full of just thoughts basically, and just sort of matching words together, and that is culled down eventually into these songs, which then he kind of applies to different pieces of music. So it's a bit of it's an interesting process. It's very collaborative. It takes a long time.
Underline everything, I'm a professional in my beloved white shirt. Underline everything, I'm a professional in my beloved white shirt. I'm going down among the saints.
I have a pretty fun role because a lot of what I do is more color, almost like the orchestration of songs. It's coloristic, where it's sitting on top and maybe adding a layer or an unexpected sound or tone, or it's developmental stuff as opposed to maybe the piano line or the acoustic guitar part, which is really dry, like the kind of centerpiece of what's happening. So we're not known for being the wildest guitar players or something. We call that kind of wanking, but I think with our music, there's a kind of minimalist element to it. That's always worked better for us, And it's, if anything's pushed to the front, it's usually Matt's voice and the drumming. In a way, I think the song there's an ebb and flow between big and small with our band. Like we don't, our version of epic, which does happen quite a lot live, we don't necessarily think is the most interesting sound for a record. So that's why Alligator was quite epic and loud and ferocious, but Boxer's very small and intimate. High Violet sort of is somewhere in between the two, I think. So we don't think about writing for big stages. I mean, obviously we are playing in much bigger venues now than a normal show is 3,000 people, where it used to be 100, so that it's quite a big change. But I do think it's a problem when bands get a certain level of success, especially, it gives people start to get egotistical and maybe think they're too great, and that's when people start to make bad records. So we're actually we're so self-critical that I think we're harsher. No critic is as harsh as we are.
Summer center runner for the feeling that I lost today. You must be somewhere in London. You must be loving your life in the rain. You must be somewhere in London, walking every lane.
If we can please all five of us, then usually it's a good song. I mean, touring is certainly exhausting, so I think the more immediate issue is just we've been trying to kind of reinvent the live show a bit, where we're playing older songs and even thinking about lights or stuff like that we never really used to do. So there's elements like that kind of play into what we do now that are important. As far as where the band's headed, it feels like the three recent records, well, since 2005, they're kind of like a trilogy, and they hang together really well, and we've obviously been developing a certain sound and even the way the people we've been working with, and there's a certain focus to that, which I think is great. I do feel that it's pretty wide open where we might go from there, because we've done this thing really well, and we've been able to write a bunch of songs and believe in them and play them live. But it does feel like maybe there's space, and maybe it's something to do with the way maybe changing something about our process could be interesting at this point, because we have been working in this way, and the last thing we want to do is really repeat ourselves.
Put an ocean in a river, between everybody else, between everything yourself.
we've been ripped off many times, often in London, actually. In Glasgow, we stayed in a hostel, and we didn't realize that we didn't have our own room. We all showed up, and the guys, like the kind of drunk guys who were already asleep, had put all their wet underwear in our beds. That was pretty bad. One time Matt and I stayed on a friend's floor in Atlanta, and he had this really old white dog that had shed hair all over everything. So that's another one, the kind of white dog event. One time we were actually paid not to play.
Somebody paid the National not to play at their festival. When was this? You got to tell me about this.
It wasn't a festival. It was in Orange County, which is the really conservative area of California, just south of Los Angeles. And no one knew who we were at that point. Still, it was like 8 years ago or something. And like, we were the last. It was almost like an American Idol type night where they have these sort of cheesy, guys doing like lip syncing along, and
choreographed dancing and such.
And basically there was no one there, and so the bartender was like, "Hey, look, you guys just want to pack up and go home. I'll still pay you the $100 or whatever." I think that young bands should not be concerned about music business or the industry of it, because that stuff is changing so fast, and any label or industry person who tells you they understand it, they're lying, because they don't, because it's changing so fast. So I think ultimately, like, what we learned is that you do what you do, and if you believe in what you're doing and stick with it, even if it's a long time, it could be 10 years before anybody cares. But I think ultimately what's important is the music itself, and playing music is fun and rewarding, So I think as long as like that's the center of what what you're doing, then I think then that's great.
Afraid of the heights, stay the night with the sinners. Afraid of the heights, stay the night with the sinners. Afraid of the heights, 'cause they're desperate to entertain. Afraid of the heights, stay the night with the sinners. Afraid of the heights, stay the night with the sinners. Afraid of the heights, 'cause they're desperate to entertain.
Hi, I'm Bryce from The National, and you're listening to Two States on RTE 2XM.